Creatine, is it a super supplement? Should you be taking it? Well, there's an increasing evidence base now for creatine as well as its physical benefits, but there's also some cognitive benefits, including depression. Let's get into it. Creatine is a naturally occurring substance that you'll find in things like fish and meat. So naturally, it's lower in vegans and vegetarians. Essentially, it's a substance that is made up of amino acids, and you'll find it stored as something called phosphocreatine within your skeletal muscles, your liver, your kidneys, and your brain. So it's used as an immediate source of energy during high intensity exercise. So with regard to the physical aspect, it's still, if you go back to school, you'll remember something called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Basically, that breaks into adenosine diphosphate into two little bits, and that creates you energy. Creatine is holding onto this other phosphate, and it will pop in and it will make adenosine triphosphate again. So that's where you get your energy from. So creatine in some studies has been shown to increase strength by 6 to 28%, as well as increasing lean muscle. It can also be used in the elderly, and again, in some studies, which I will link below, it's been shown to increase lean mass and muscle strength within the elderly. You probably want to know a little bit about the cognitive benefits that I mentioned earlier. So I went onto the Cochrane website earlier, the Cochrane Library, which is essentially a database of lots of different studies and meta-analysis. So one study I found, which was, got to get it right, the cognitive functions trial, was a crossover double-blind placebo-controlled and randomized study with daily supplementation of 5 grams for 6 weeks. Okay, so it's a very well thought out study, and the outcome showed that creatine can reverse metabolic alterations and fatigue-related cognitive deterioration over a longer period of time. So essentially what that means is, if you're getting tired, your brain's getting tired, taking creatine can help with your mental cognition. Sounds good. Another one that I found earlier, I was reading The New Scientist because I'm a little bit of a geek, was that actually there's been a small study done that it can help with depression as well. So this study, in case you're wondering, was done with 100 participants, broken into 2 groups. One was given creatine for 8 weeks and the other wasn't. This was done alongside CBT therapy. They had the measure of their depression scale done at the beginning, and again a measure of the depression scale at the end, and it was found that there was better improvement in the depression scale on the ones that were taking creatine. So obviously there's lots more studying to be done, but it's showing a positive correlation there with creatine as well, with cognitive function. Let's talk about the safety profile. So creatine is the most studied supplement out there, and it's generally considered safe if taken appropriately. You can get some side effects. Mainly is going to be weight gain, but that's due to water retention in the muscles. But we need that because it hydrates the muscles and allows them to grow and repair. You may also get some gastric discomfort, such as bloating. You can get diarrhea. I personally have never had it, but it can happen, but it should go after time. To avoid that, instead of doing the loading phase, just go straight for the maintenance phase and have lower levels of the creatine. It can also be counteracted by having a probiotic. So also people have asked about kidney function. If you've already got a diagnosed kidney problem, it's best to stay away from creatine, but then it's also best to stay away from a high protein diet. That's if you've got a pre-diagnosed problem with your kidneys. So what can happen with creatine when you're taking it is it can cause an artificially raised level of creatinine. Not creatine, creatinine. Creatinine is produced when creatine breaks down. However, when you stop taking the creatine levels will go back to normal again. So it's artificially raised, not due to any problem with the kidneys. I'll put a link down there just about kidneys, creatinine, etc. if you want to have a little read of the study. But essentially, it's an artificially raised creatinine level. If creatinine levels are too high, it can make your glomerular filtration rate look a little bit lower as well. But again, as soon as you stop it, it will go back to normal. It's just because you've got raised creatinine levels in your blood, but it's artificially raised. So generally nothing to worry about. If you stop, it should go back down to normal, and it's just artificially raised. So how are you going to take your creatine? So entirely up to yourself if you want to do the loading phase, but the evidence has shown that if you do the loading phase, 5 days, 20 grams of creatine, it's going to be the same as if you've taken 4 weeks of the loading dose, 3 to 5 grams. So it's entirely up to yourself. I normally just go straight into the maintenance phase. It just reduces any kind of bloating, gastric problems, etc., etc. Also, there's different types of creatine. Don't go for anything fancy. Just get the creatine monohydrate. I normally get the micronized creatine. It just means that it's more bioavailable, so it's easier for the body to uptake, basically. So essentially, that's creatine in a nutshell. Any questions, please do ask. If you want me to make a video about anything else, please pop it in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, etc., etc. Anyway, team, cheers for watching. Have a great week.